Today on Lightning Bugs.
I was full-time nanny, and I got a check from my song being in a Super Bowl commercial. Okay. But yeah, got a check in the mail. And I remember I got it and it was like, oh my God, like, wow, like this is crazy. And then I was like, wait, I still feel like shit though.
Yeah.
Like, this was supposed to solve everything.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. There's a appropriate delusion that I think is like, it's your driving force. You want this dream and, it's like, yes. And it makes you motivated and crazy. And people are like, whoa, like, okay, like, this could be something, and you kind of attract this energy. But the truth of it is there is this sort of like self-worth element that was associated with success. The truth of it is the thing that I have learned from like that first album, first EP, is nothing matters if you are not proud of the people you are working with.
Hi, if you're enjoying listening to Lightning Bugs, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps a lot. So it's Thursday, time for another episode of Lightning Bugs Conversations with me, Ben Folds. Next episode. Today, my guest is musician Bishop Briggs. Her first single, Wild Horses, was released in 2015, and she's been cranking out music every year since then. That's a long time ago now, 2015. But she's always been performing music, starting out in coffee shops and in karaoke, and in her own words, piss rooms. You'll have to listen about that. Bishop is really smart and has busted her ass to get where she is. We had a great conversation. Really enjoyed hearing her speak about her experiences in the industry so far. So here is my chat with Bishop Briggs. 1, 2. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Are you in Los Angeles?
I am. And I was actually just saying earlier, it is a gloomy day in Los Angeles, which is very thrilling and exciting. And yeah, so it's definitely like a very creative day to begin with.
No, man, those are rare in LA. I lived in LA for 5 years in Santa Monica. I think I moved right when you got there in 2015.
I've been here, crazily, I've been here since 2010.
Oh, shit. That's when I got there.
I know. There. Is it? Okay.
Funny, yes. I didn't see you around.
I know. It's crazy.
I don't go anywhere. I remember I called, I was working on a record for the actor William Shatner, producing and writing the stuff for him a long time ago. And I just put people on the record that I just really looked up to, and one of them was Henry Rollins, if you know yes. Henry Rollins. Yes. And I remember talking to him on, it was new at the time, these cell phones, and I guess I'm trying to sort of connect with him in some way, and I just said, hey, do you ever hang out with so-and-so? Just fucking some name drop. And he goes, I don't hang out. I was like, man... And then I wanted to say, I actually don't hang out either.
That's great.
I don't hang out.
Yeah, I don't hang out.
How you holding up in all the craziness? Because you kind of like suddenly a couple years ago, your day job is being Bishop Briggs, and then stuff shuts down and everything. What you're on a bit of a roller coaster probably, huh?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, do we already go there? I definitely had the worst year of my life this year. And interestingly, like unrelated to touring and music and creativity, my sister got really sick, and she's 30. And yeah, she passed away in January.
Oh man.
Yeah. And she's someone I like, soulmate, like my twin. We work together. We like every single thing. And so I feel like that being creative has always been a survival mechanism tool but nothing could have really prepared me for this,
No,
and
God.
yeah. And so it started like, sort of like from diagnosis to January. It was, I really became full-time caretaker and like her advocate. And yeah, so it was just, I was immersed in this world that was, I felt it was important for me to be immersed in, and learn everything I could about medicine and, and all that. But, so these past few months, I've started basically this past month and a half, I started writing again. And, I mean, maybe it was even sooner after. And to have like these voice memos of like 5 minutes of crying and like, I think it's a whole other thing when you're like, when you're normally writing, you're like, ooh, I'd love to make that verse have more of a visual element. And then you get inundated with like the visuals you have experienced, of that past year. I feel like it's just so much more traumatic now. And like, there's so much more, there's so many more layers to it. So I feel like the songs that I've been writing lately, it's like, they're the most painful love songs, that I've ever written. Yeah.
And I guess no matter what you're writing about, all roads probably go back to that as far as just emotion goes.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I'm sorry to start out the interview on that. It is interesting, though. I think people who don't write songs or create things that are specifically artistic, I feel like it's hard for those who haven't gone through the process to understand that maybe while you're going through something isn't the best time to write about it too. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that way? I mean, I kind of feel like I have to get some distance. But I think the romantic notion is a thing happens and you're a one-cell organism and you sit down and it goes through you. And I have never found luck or success doing that. I need a buffer time personally.
Yeah. And I think the times that it does feel that way, say it's in a relationship, setting and, you're breaking up or whatever. It's, I do feel that it may feel instantaneous, but maybe you mentally left the relationship months prior, you were, considering it or being like, I don't know that I'm really fulfilled or whatever it was. And then, when you break up officially, you write all this stuff comes pouring out, but it's because you've had months of, festering on this. Yeah.
That's right. You just haven't admitted it yet. No, it's not. Yeah, it's all the stuff that you probably don't actually even want to put in a memo or write down or admit it to yourself. But the thing is as soon as the breakup happens, you're well stocked. Like you've got.
Yes.
Now you can say it.
Yes, I know. And it's so unfortunate. And generally it's, subconscious. Obviously we'd like to hope it's subconscious. It's deep in your subconscious that, you have a list of things that aren't working or whatever it may be. But I agree. And it depends on the trauma too.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I remember I was doing a reality TV show sort of thing for a while. And,
what?
Well, I was it was a singing thing. It was an a cappella thing. So it was called Sing Off and it was like a cappella groups.
Yes.
And I, I actually thought it had a lot of integrity. I liked it. One of the things that, of course, the producers like to do is if someone experienced something, it was going through a rough time and they knew it, the people running the show wanted to make sure that person sang that week so that they could tell their story.
Oh, and
one cat, his dad died and he had to fly to Australia, where I am at the moment, actually, and then fly back in that week. So he goes to the funeral, he comes back, and they assign him a song that's his favorite song he wants to dedicate to his father. And I was mentioning to director and people, I don't think you're going to get anything out of that. I mean, like, that's just not, and of course, like, he was wobbly, he wasn't on it. Of course he wasn't on it. Not the best time to explain it. But a breakup is different because that's a slow motion train wreck. Like that.
Yes. But, not to mention too, like, I feel like the producers of the show are like underestimating the guilt he has that he was on the show and not with his dad. Like that's a whole layer.
Totally. And that's stuff that I actually think you're really good at the subtleties. You're just good at subtleties in songwriting. And that makes sense. Like now talking to you that you would like make sure to make a note of the guilt involved in it when, many people are just going to see the big hunk of the chocolate, like I just cut off a big piece of just, that's all. And they're like, sad song,
right.
minor key, him sad.
Yeah.
And what I love and what I was really drawn to in your music is it's all in there. The thumbprint is really dense. And I think, I don't know, I think you go a long way with that. I hope
Thank you.
That's something that you never get beaten out of you, because I do think, I've been writing songs since I was a little kid. And I think that because that's so underappreciated sometimes, or it feels like it's not the thing that's sticking, just one voice of an interviewer one day telling you to stick to your guns. I think it's all totally there and coming out.
Thank you. I think like it's been very freeing as a human and as a songwriter to understand the concept of like there can be multiple truths at once. I think sometimes we like pigeonhole ourselves with, I feel this and that's all. And that, is very debilitating. But understanding like the complexity of being a human is having multiple truths exist at the same time. And that's what makes us go crazy. And that's what makes us, complex.
Probably contradictory. And to the extent that you can not choose a team and be both places at the same time is a real gift in the song. But it's like, I do kind of want to go back a little bit because someone with it probably feels like a long career to you. It's your career, but to a guy my age, it seems like you're just beginning, right? There's not a lot on you out there except that you're on your story, except you grew up in Japan some, and was it Hong Kong? Just if you want to do the Cliff Notes thing for me, anything I ought to know before we talk about other stuff?
Oh yeah. The Cliff Notes is my entire family is Scottish and Irish, but I was born in London, and but I left there when I was 4,
okay.
Not on my own, left with the family. Yeah. And moved to Japan for 6 years, and then Hong Kong 8 years. And then when I graduated high school from there, I moved to LA and just, began, I had been writing and performing as much as I could. And then I saw LA as this very glittery, beautiful, shiny place. And I remember getting off the plane and going down the escalator and being like, okay, like, let's see, when's it going to happen? Like really thinking like at the baggage claim, like, let's see, who's going to come up, like ask me to sing for them.
Yeah. And TMZ didn't chase you through the airport or anything.
I know. It's really tough for me, but that delirium is really what led me here. And for me with music, it's very much a soul purpose thing. I grew up going to karaoke bars in Japan. That is definitely like a real deal thing. And my dad would get up and sing Frank Sinatra. And when I saw him on stage, I think because it was just this joy for him, and I was like, ooh, I want that. Like there's something about that I really want. And then when it comes to writing, it is I definitely it's goes very much back to like that soul thing where it's I almost feel like it's something bigger than me, and it's just kind of like working through me. And so I don't know. That's sort of, I feel like that's a Cliff Note.
No, that's good. No, That's interesting stuff. I mean, I feel like your perspective isn't like it is international. Like you feel there's some acts that feel just really American centric, and then there are some that are like, okay, there's something else going on that's a little broader. This might seem like an odd thing to say, but I feel like you also, as seriously as you take your art, you also seem to understand it's there's a certain amount of theater involved in projecting it, which
Yeah.
which my age group didn't understand. It was all supposed to be real,
Oh, right, right.
you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting thing, especially when I was performing around LA, I'd be in coffee shops performing as if it was an arena, never got asked back, but I do think that idea of like you're convincing people to
I can only imagine you in a coffee shop.
you don't even know. Even the thing today about like having a little bit of a song, I know that in order to not blow out any microphone, I'm going to have to be at the other side of the apartment.
Oh, that makes me happy. This is awesome. That's great.
The concept behind being a musician of like, you're convincing people that your music is worthy of their ears, worthy of their time and energy and this moment in time. I definitely, but I also grew up watching like soul singers, like, Etta James and Otis Redding and Aretha Franklin. And then I got into like Janis Joplin. And so I feel like that was a big part of, performance, adding that layer of it.
No, you can feel the I think a lot of people your age, I'm going to do a lot of that and I'm sorry, seem to sing dynamically within the confines of the sort of digital world that you've grown up in, where to stay kind of quiet.
Yeah.
And it's like, because it sounds so good, it stays in the box. You're pretty unruly. Like your dynamics are pretty unruly, and that's really refreshing. There was one I saw you do, River, on some radio show, and I want to say I think I had done that one before, so I was like, oh, I've done that one, let me click on that. And you were awesomely out of bounds. I was like, thank you, that's good, I like that. Breaking the law.
I definitely, I would describe it as blacking out, but then I feel like there's an association with like alcohol and drugs, and that's not what I mean, but it is the equivalent of blacking out for me, where it is, I feel so much adrenaline and I feel so energized by what is happening and mixed with nerves and all that stuff that I don't really have control over my body, in that way.
I like that. You were talking about playing coffee shops as if it was an arena. And my band was a three-piece piano band that was basically kind of at the beginning of our career confined to places which we were going to offend because it was way too much. And we would bring our own, like we rolled our own grand piano into these places too.
Oh my God.
It's a baby grand piano when it was on its side and we moved it down a ramp. It was insane.
Oh, that's great.
And I remember my first big opener thing was with Neil Young. And we played with Neil for about 40 dates. And I learned so much because we had gone from playing tiny places like they were arenas, like you were saying. And I looked at this guy who was playing like 15,000 people like it was a coffee shop. And that was such an interesting, like, I think you'll get that. Like you'll see why that was really interesting to me, to stand on side stage and watch the gear change of the energy. It was like.
But don't you think there is something with like, I don't know. I am very curious about this whole manifesting and all this stuff, because my first tour, after doing this whole, performing in coffee shops as if they're arenas, was Coldplay. And I'm like, I feel like when I hear your story and I hear mine, I'm like, well, I do think there's like a method to the madness of like really owning that space and being like, take it or leave it. Like that, it's almost like it's a perfect juxtaposition of so much insecurity and so much confidence.
Oh, it
all
is.
at once.
Absolutely.
You know?
But
Yeah.
there's also a youth. For instance, think about Leonard Cohen, who's an example I bring up sometimes, because by the time he was playing his last shows, he was down to like 2 notes. But fuck, he used them. And
Yeah.
like if
Yeah.
you'd had him do that when he was 30, he
Right.
wouldn't have even like that takes years to figure out how to bottle all that and channel it through there. But if you
Mm-hmm.
don't figure it out, you can't do it because he's only got 2 notes. Like you're running up hills and doing your videos, like which I wanted to bring up about the videos and the karaoke because and somehow loop it into your writing.
What I think is interesting is the translation from that live energy over to your records. Because even when I listen to Kate, you feel that. You feel that energy of that of those people playing it live, and I think that's very compelling. And I do think that does lend itself to the audience's ear, and where they feel as though they're part of something energetic, and they can't put their finger on it.
When you're busting at the seams like that, I think do it, capture it. Someone has to deal with it. Like someone has to deal with the dynamics. They got to deal with explaining it, all that kind of stuff. Fuck it, just do it. And then I think most artists, and see what's really cool about talking to you is everyone I try not to talk to too many musicians, but I haven't spoken to anyone who was in it. Like I'm talking to kind of, my homies who have been in it, and we have a certain perspective. And I think what I'm fascinated with you is you seem to be aware and you're in it. I feel like when I was in it, people would say like, aren't you having the time of your life? I didn't know how to answer it, but like, I started tasting food again like about 5 years later. I don't remember what I always felt like I was going through a car wash backwards with a bag on my head without the car.
Without the car.
Do you feel like that? Like how because you really are immersed in it now. It's all different for you than it was 5 years ago, isn't it? Or is it?
It is different. It is. I think the parts that continue to feel the best are the moments where you're on stage, the moments where you're writing, the moments where you're in real time connecting with people. I think the parts of it that feel like the car wash part of it is just when you come into those people that aren't seeing you as a human, but I do feel like the true music lovers, like the non-paparazzi people of the world, I do feel like there is a pureness with kind of like what you really sign up for. And then I think the sort of like, for lack of a better word, but the fame part of it, the thing that, people think is shiny or whatever, I think that part can be very dark and disheartening. And that part, I think people can kind of get wrapped up in. But I think it's very important to really, you got to shut the door on that.
What about the expectations now? I mean, it's like when your first songs you wrote, that was all you, and then you got pat on the back for it. You got a cookie. When you're writing now, how do you shut out the possibility that you might get a cookie for writing something like you just did?
Well, I think I would have this regardless. But I will say, when you perform at a place that has a stripper pole on the inside and 3 of your friends show up and they call the show the piss show because of how much it smells like piss, as you're singing about your childhood trauma.
This is hypothetical, right?
Right. And then you have to pay the door because you did not make any money from your friends because you told them you'd get them in. Okay, when you go through that experience, and that's what I'm saying, I feel as though I would have this regardless. I really do. But it really gets jammed into you that when you have that experience for years and years and years, you even when you get success or get a great review, it doesn't sink in. Like there's no like part of you that's like, cool, now I can relax. You are always like, no, I'm the girl from the piss room. Like that's who I am, and that's what I'll be. So I'm always, I don't want to say I'm always in the piss room, but because that just feels like, a dark analogy. But the piss room is what got me, doing music and, got me here. But yes, I think I for better and for worse, I have not left that frame of mind.
This is going to be the title of the podcast. I never left the piss room. You can take the girl out of the piss room, but you can't take the piss room out of the girl.
Exactly. That is my life. Yes. So when you say that, I'm like, I genuinely cannot relate to it because I'm like, mentally, that's where I am.
You're smart. You're smarter than I was. I felt like I had a harder time writing songs once they were expected. Regardless, so forget the success part and missing the piss rooms, but you can always go back to play those when you want to. Live the glory days again.
Yeah. I'm surprised I haven't done that.
Well, everyone, it happens. Everyone thinks that someone who does your job was born the day that you had your first chart position.
Yes.
It's like all the years of playing, and it's demoralizing. It's demoralizing shit.
It is. It really is. Yes.
And one of the reasons that I like to do stuff like this podcast and talking to people about creativity is I want people to see the piss room side. Because if they regret that instead they were a doctor or did something that helps people in another way, they shouldn't. It wasn't for them. They made the right decision.
Oh my God. Absolutely. It's definitely, I think that the misconception, or I don't know, it's a weird industry because it's like, you're not making money, and that's not what it's about. But then overnight you can get a crazy advance. And now all of a sudden, and I think that's a thing that kind of messes with people. Whereas if you're at a job that you've been working at for a long time, that in about 5 years, you'll get that promotion you always wanted, and your money will, or whatever. And you can like clock the hours that you did and all this stuff. And there's quite a structure to it. I think the part that can spin people, again, doesn't spin me because, again, still there, still the person paying $40 to the person at the door. But I do think the part that does get maybe overlooked is that side of what that does to the psyche and, all that. Well,
I just think you got your head screwed on straight. So, I remember it's crass to talk money, but it's a long time ago now. My band got a $1 million non-recoupable advance to sign our deal. And we were out on tour in our van playing the various urine rooms across the country. And this one night we were playing a heavy metal club outside of Dallas, Texas. And the only place we could find a phone, it was before phones, was in a women's room in the heavy metal club. And there were 3 payphones. And I overheard my other 2 bandmates asking the same questions of our various point people at business management, which was a year after the advance. So how then can I take a loan out to pay the taxes this year?
Yes.
We were working. We got this one big advance.
Yes.
Everyone's thrilled with that one big advance and takes their cut off of that. You know what the secret is? Do small things. It's so unsexy. No one wants to take that money.
Yes.
But the other thing is a creative exercise.
Oh, yes. Yes, 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 yes. It's literally one sentence, but God forbid I mess it up, right? Okay, I've got it.
Drum roll.
Okay. Make a vision board that represents your creative spirit.
Awesome. A vision board that represents your creative spirit.
And I know what you're thinking. What?
No.
Do you have an example of this?
Well, what's a vision board? No, that's what I'm thinking.
We feel lost.
Oh, that's a vision board.
This is my vision board that I made last night.
Yeah.
Which is giving a lot of clues for the next step. But yes, that is my creative spirit in a vision board. But it allows you to you're going to make mistakes and you have to go with the flow. For me, it's like all glued down. And so you're even like on certain sections, there's this, there's pieces of paper with literature on them and how do they relate to my story as an artist and what do I really want to talk about? What do I want to give to the world? Like what causes do I believe in? Like, what do I want to raise awareness about? Like, all these things.
How about the side of it that is the side that people want other people to believe about them, the promotion side? Do you have a view on? I mean, my view would be as part of to add to that exercise is this is not to sell you to anyone.
No.
This is to understand, right?
You are molding yourself, so no one in their right mind has the right to mold you or suggest that they mold you. Because you walk in and you say, this is who I am, in every aspect of this. And then they, I do feel that is because we, as humans, we mirror each other. So if I walk in and I'm like, oh, I don't know, the person's gonna be like, oh, they're unsure, and that could cost me money, and I'm just gonna go full ahead with this, and they are going to be, the next this person. Rather than with this, it's like my goal with this is I want to enter into sort of like a what would Tim Burton do vibe. And that way I can walk in and be like, I'm creepy, I'm weird, and this is who I am. And, and then ideally you're aligning with people that are like, cool, I get it. And I'm aligned with you or whatever.
And so the people do the exercise actually, do you have any, like you glued yours?
I did to a pin board.
You glued it to a pin board. You can pin it to a glue board if you want to, however you want to do it.
It's, I guess the best like prompt is, what is the world that your music exists in?
Mm-hmm.
So
it's just all putting it in perspective. Did you make some things bigger than others that you wanted to emphasize, or was that an accident, or what should someone?
I think to me, this reminded me a lot of writing, in the sense that you are going with it. You're doing like the improv thing of like what is the thing with improv where they say like, yes.
I love that.
Yes, we do. But it's like the yes and of your life. So if you feel inclined that half of it, is a huge picture of your garden outside, like then that's what you're inclined to do. That's what the world you've created. There's no rules, which I think is very freeing.
When you did that, your first mark on the page, do you remember what it was? The yes before the and?
My first mark on the page was, so a lot of this board is just about like the complexities and the varieties of being human, being a woman, all this stuff, all these different things. And one of the pages that I had, I don't know why it was just here, but it was an excerpt from Little Women. What are the odds? But I was like, oh, that's perfect, because that really showed me like, wow, very different type of women out there, of all different, backgrounds, and they have their own, issues and imperfections that make them so perfect and make them lovable and make them, so that was the first one. Yeah. And then I did add like kind of creepy things, like I have like a welcome thing. And then I say like, thank you for visiting,
It's kind of pixelated, but I recognize the font on your name, or I feel like it's very similar to what's at the top of your videos.
Yes.
Did you design that? They're at the top of all your videos, which I kind of dig.
Yes.
That's cool. So should we give people a time limit on this? Do you want them to move quick? Because I know like what I'm starting to find is when you do an exercise, the more specific you are, the more likely someone is to actually do it because they understand. Is this to be done in one sitting? When's it due? Stuff like that.
Okay. Love this. I feel like teacher vibes. Okay. So put your phone on airplane mode. First step. And the thing you can do is nothing. I was going to say set a timer, but don't. Set aside an hour of your time to do this.
Okay. An hour over the week.
And then if there are any people that are like, I don't have an hour. Okay. Take a breath, students. 15 minutes. There's a whole slew of things that I feel like I really quickly learned about, the business side of it. And I think that is something that I hope that up and coming artists are, and even not up and coming. I hope artists in general are like, really, really learning about that side of it. Cause again, it's like, it's not the sexy, glamorous side of it, but I remember when I first got like a check from, I was full-time nanny, and I got a check from my song being in, it was Super Bowl commercial. Okay. But yeah, got a check in the mail. And I remember I got it and it was like, oh my God, like, wow, like this is crazy. And then I was like, wait, I still feel like shit though.
Yeah.
Like, this was supposed to solve everything.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. There's a appropriate delusion that I think is like, it's your driving force. You want this dream and, it's like, yes. And it makes you motivated and crazy. And people are like, whoa, like, okay, like, this could be something, and you kind of attract this energy. But the truth of it is, I think there is this sort of like self-worth element that was associated with success, that was associated with like being able to make a living off of, the thing that I adore. And
Which is amazing.
It is amazing, but I will say the making a living thing actually wasn't a huge thing for me, just because I was like, who knows if it's possible, but the doing it every day thing was like always part of it, and, writing and all that stuff. But I think the truth of it is, the thing that I have learned from like that first album, first EP, is nothing matters if you are not proud of the people you are working with.
It took me a while to figure that out personally, and absolutely, it may be the proudest thing in your career at some point, if it's not now, to look at I hate to use the word team, but you look at the people you work with and you're like, if I get hit by a bus right now, they can represent me and everything. Yes. And I'm proud to let that radiate out there. And it takes a long time to achieve that.
Yes.
Because you always have one or two dickheads you're trying to kind of weed out.
Right. And I think the first step was seeing, like, getting that check and being like, I still don't feel good. That was like the first, like, oh, that was weird. I kind of thought that would solve everything. Okay. Well, anyways, like, what about like the song doing well or whatever, way more success than I'd ever had. How about that? And it's like, still no. And it's like, that's your own, that's your own stuff. But I think it's also the part of it that, again, I mean, sorry, same as you, that changed my life and changed me as a human being was acknowledging that element of it, of the people around you,
Does do the same basic things motivate you to write, compel you to write now, as opposed to like being in high school and before? What compels you to write now?
Well, I feel that like push behind me to just show up. Because no matter what, even if I'm just talking to a producer and we come to the bottom of, whatever it is of that day, and it's just talking, and it's like, it makes either one of us feel seen. It's like, it's part of the experience of, getting to do this soulful, cool job, So that being said, I definitely have always been someone that if I show up, it's like, we got to write something, it just will, it will just come out. So that's the thing. I feel as if I have like a push behind me because it's very therapeutic. So like generally it will tell me a lot of things about my subconscious.
What would be your typical writing process? And I see you do a lot of collaboration, which I'm kind of envious of. I don't often, part of the thing I've enjoyed about this podcast is I just make sure I make something with each guest. And honestly, that's because most people are like anthropologists and tap dancers and stuff. And it's not like I'm not trying to throw myself in a writer's room. These things aren't very serious. But at the same time, it's like it is something that I'd never played well with others, but you seem to. What's your process?
Oh, well, it's very fun having a friend come in because it's just a totally different energy. And I have enjoyed that, but I generally will write the chorus here. On the piano, it's always organ chords. It's always organ sound and, very depressing chords, very depressing, always. And literally every time it's like different melodies just come flowing out because, this is just what has happened to me. I love playing these minor chords. So I generally write like the main hook, and probably the pre-chorus leading up to it. And then I'll jot down, some ideas for a verse, and then I'll go into the session. This is sometimes how it goes. And then, the other part of it is, if I'm in a room that has a bunch of instruments, I'll just I always go up and just start playing the instruments. And whether it's a synth sound or whatever it is, I think sometimes not being perfect at an instrument is what can create the coolest stuff, especially if you're in the room with a producer that does know how to play that instrument, that can like place it in the track appropriately and like add a metronome into your ears. But I think it is the most magical thing ever, writing. Right.
It is. Well, you're cooking up something out of nothing. It didn't exist before you decided to get up and do something about it.
Yes. And even with the little idea that I have that I brought today, I can't sing it without hearing the 7 layers I want on top of it. And, the sub drop that I want to come in and, and then the violin could come in right here. And like, that sort of energy is my favorite thing.
Well, mostly what I've been doing is just taking phrases and taking the ideas and then just manipulating the shit out of them here in my apartment. But if you want to be a control freak, You know where I
Yes,
live.
always.
I'll send it to you. And if I need, if quality control or you want me to do something
Yes.
different, because I haven't really bounced them back and forth with anyone yet. I've just basically
Oh
been,
my gosh.
yeah. So
Okay.
look, take it away. Do you ever put this stuff into GarageBand or technology, or what's your relationship with that?
Yes, I have gone down that route, and I've also done just voice memo has actually crazily the quality is still kind of there. But I will say at the beginning of quarantine, I was like, hey, I have time. Why don't I start, recording, on Logic, and I really understood it. I got the grasp of it, and it was stuff that I had done years prior. But again, I just was touring and, and kind of had the luxury of like working with great producers that were just quick and stuff. And so at the beginning of COVID, I really got into the world, created all these gospel choirs, did all these things. And then I found myself kind of not feeling like the urge to write. And I was like, that's weird. And it's because it's still something that I'm learning, the recording process. First of all, I didn't even want to get into layers. So I would have to get on the first take, which is fine. That is definitely how I record. But it's nice to know you could record a second take if you wanted to.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But it would be like this generally 5-minute recording. And then 12 hours of just trying to. So needless to say, I think the best summary is it's not where my passion lies. I think I have learned perhaps because I love the movement of writing and creating. And there was something about it that just, I could do it, but I felt like it took away from the eccentricity that comes with, the magic of writing. I don't know.
Let's do the beginnings of a song. Do you need me to play a chord for a key or anything so that we're in tune?
I'm okay.
Okay.
And I will go. And I will go. And I will go. Something? You like it?
I love it. I'll turn it, and I love I love because they're not the ones that aren't words. I love laws and oohs and all kinds of stuff. And it's like you've made up your own. Is it la la or no? She just said
We can add extra lyrics if we need to. Yes, that would be. Exactly. See, that would be stacked, and you would have a layer in there. Yeah.
I dig it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any clues? If I were to pull out pieces of things that you said during the interview, is there anything that you remember that glows that I'll want to look at and I can paste in just you speaking in verses?
Ooh. Well, there was definitely a few things that you did that could be used as rhythm. Like there was one moment, I think, when I said, you have to be proud of the people you're working with. And you went like that.
Wow.
But that could be just that breath mixed with, the sort of like movement. You could kind of like distort, add like a chapel boy, what is that, altar boy onto that, and yeah, and warp the sound.
What do you think? When you have a phrase, and this is just all for people to see something about your process. When you have a phrase like that, are you thinking like, okay, this is a chorus? Oh no! If you've got something to say, do it.
What we could do is listen, proud. Like it could be where it could go is in that section where we were talking about like, nothing, it doesn't mean anything if you're not proud of the people. the song could be called Proud. So it's like, I will go, like, unless I'm proud. Unless I'm proud, 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 you know. Proud, proud, proud. And I will go. And I will go. And I will go. Unless I'm proud. Unless I'm proud. Unless I'm proud. Unless I'm proud. Proud with you.
Yay!
I don't know.
No, you do
okay.
know. That's awesome.
Oh God!
I'm gonna.
But I do think you should add a scream vocal on top of that.
Okay.
Maybe let me try and get it really fast. Oh, okay. So it'd be like, unless I'm proud, unless I'm proud, something.
Yay!
I don't know. I'm just riffing.
No, that's so great. That's just so free and awesome that you do that. You didn't like go, I'm going to have to warm up for about 20 minutes and I'll be right back.
That would be great if I did that.
All right, you. Well,
yeah.
Keep kicking ass.
Thank you.
And,
thank you.
Yeah, I had about 30 other questions I was going to ask you, but I'm feeling like this is good.
The piss room.
The piss room. It was kind of, you had me at piss.
Even when you get success or get a great review, it doesn't sink in. Like, there's no like part of you that's like, cool, now I can relax. You are always like, no, I'm the girl from the piss room. The girl from the piss room. Right. When you perform at a place that has a stripper pole and 3 of your friends show up and they call the show the piss show because of how much it smells like piss. As you're singing about your childhood trauma. Okay. When you go through that experience for years and years and years, even when you get success or get a great review, it doesn't sink in. Like, there's no like part of you that's like, cool, now I can relax. You are always like, no, I'm the girl from the piss room. The girl from the piss room. I'm the girl from the piss room. No, I'm the girl from the piss room. For better and for worse, I have not left that frame of mind.
Hi, if you're enjoying listening to Lightning Bugs, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps a lot. Thank you so much for watching Lightning Bugs on YouTube. Check out more episodes and subscribe if you have not already. You can also listen to Lightning Bugs wherever podcasts may be found.